As I prayed a rosary on the sidewalk that frigid morning in downtown Louisville, I saw something that will be forever burned into my mind. A young girl, 12 or 13 years old, and who looked a lot like one of my sisters, was being escorted by 3 men down the street. One was her father, the other 2 may have been her brothers. The girl had tears in her eyes. One of the women praying next to me called out to the girl, "You don't have to do this." And the little girl looked at us, started crying, and said, "I don't want to do this." She probably thought of running, but knew it was useless, and the wall of men continued to funnel her forward, past the policeman, and into the abortion facility. The prophet Isaiah tells us today that the Lord has spoken, who formed me as his servant from the womb. How does our mind then not, in these days, turn toward abortion? Abortion, no word in the history of words is more divisive and is more charged and carries emotion. In college, I took a speech class, and one day we were told we were to give a persuasive speech on any topic that we wanted, except abortion. The professor had allowed the topic the year before, and a fight broke out in class. The word divides families, it divides friendships, it divided a Supreme Court right down the middle. It divides nations, and it divides churches, and it divides our church as well. So why talk about it? Why in church? If it divides us, why not ignore it and hope it will go away? I think that there are reasons to confront it. In a good and healthy relationship, there is no fear about clarifying key issues. The second reason to talk about it is to think about what we can do about it. And another reason is to take an opportunity to say to the people in our community that have been involved in an abortion in some way, as a mother or a father, as a doctor or a friend, to say to them that the church does not judge you. It works tirelessly to destroy the evil of abortion in our country precisely because the church is also there alongside you, the victims of abortion. It is often assumed, I think, that the church's outspokenness on the issue of abortion comes from some lofty philosophical realm. The church's teaching is made by old men who don't know what it's like to live in the real world. In reality, though, the church is the number one entity working with women before and after abortions. I worked for a year at a crisis pregnancy center in Louisville that counseled women and provided women with formula, heating payments, house payments, diapers, cribs, clothing, and support. It is the millions of people that work and volunteer at these places, the millions who pray outside abortion facilities, the millions of Catholic doctors around the world, the nurses, the nuns who work with the poor daily. These people compile the evidence that gives flesh to the church's teaching. We know that women and men everywhere are hurting because of this devastating plague, and the church wants to help. 1/3 of all abortions are obtained by Catholics in our country, and we as Catholics abort at essentially the same rate as the rest of society. One of the myths about abortion is that it is mainly utilized by the poor, when in actuality the statistics do not bear that out at all. For my Saturday mornings in Louisville, I can tell you that the majority of women walking into that facility were not poor. There were young women from nearby Louisville University. There were affluent and middle-class women as well. It affects all of us. Abortion has been shown to have a devastating effect on men as well. I worked just last year with a young man at Ritter who was absolutely destroyed by the fact that his girlfriend had aborted their child. Men and women are affected by abortion. And those who are, the church stands up and says that while it will continue to fight the sin, it wants nothing but reconciliation and peace for you. The church knows you're hurt, and through the sacrament of reconciliation, the church wants to ease your pain. Because of all of this, I think everyone agrees on one thing. Abortion is a terrible evil in our midst. 52 million dead since Roe v. Wade is an almost incomprehensible number. The tragedy of Tucson, Arizona has rocked our nation this week, and rightly so. But it is important to also realize that since I began this homily minutes ago, the Tucson tragedy has already repeated itself twice, because an abortion happens in the United States every 24 seconds. Everyone wants to reduce abortions, but the rub is the how. Some say that we can't make it illegal, but if we work for greater access to contraception, then the abortion numbers will go down. However, a statistic was just released by Planned Parenthood this week. Planned Parenthood is the #1 provider of abortions in our country, so this statistic is certainly not biased. They said that 54% of women getting an abortion report using contraception in the month leading up to their pregnancy. 54%. Contraception doesn't reduce abortions, it increases them. The church, contrary to saying, let us throw contraceptives at the issue, has put forth a different message. If a child's right to be born is not recognized by the law, the church says that to speak of any other right, the right to free speech, the right to bear arms, is a farce. The church's social teaching is very clear on something. The fundamental right is the right to be born. Now, some here bemoan the political ramifications of this discussion and say that the church is getting too political, and they bemoan the fact that abortion has become a political issue. But of course it is a political issue. Any important issue in the history of humanity has been politicized. That doesn't mean we ignore it. Does the fact that people on both sides of the debate have sought to use it for their own gain, to gain power, does that mean that the church should go silent on the issue? I don't think it does. People do not fault Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for preaching about the sin of discrimination when it became a political issue. Furthermore, as Pope Benedict has said, what good is a religion if it doesn't speak on the difficult topics? I will always remember in 1994 when Mother Teresa was invited to our nation's capital to give an address at the National Prayer Breakfast. She was the iconic figure who, for many reasons, all of America looked at as holy. And she stood up and said the following in her speech, and I quote, "Any country that accepts abortion is not teaching the people to love, but to use any violence to get what they want. That is why the greatest destroyer of love and peace is abortion." She went on to say in her speech that contraception is not the answer, but we must become a culture of life. Now here was the woman who worked with the poorest of the poor. Her sisters and her worked in areas torn by war and famine and AIDS, starvation. But what does she say is our biggest issue? Legalized abortion. We celebrate Mother Teresa's every word in our society even today, but those words were swept away so that the church's teaching could continue to be portrayed as coming from out-of-touch people, completely devoid of any personal experience. This month is Respect Life Month in our church, the highlight of which is next Monday's March for Life, which commemorates the Supreme Court's decision in the case of Roe v. Wade. Interestingly enough, Norma McCorvey, the Jane Roe of the landmark case, entered the Catholic Church and has become an outspoken opponent of abortion in our country and will be attending this year's March for Life as she has in many past. At the March for Life, you will see something. You will see that the side of truth is winning. 250,000 youth pour into the annual event, sleep on gym floors, forego showers, eat less than stellar meals, wait in long lines, and stand in the cold. and yet there is an electricity in the air everywhere you go. A priest friend of mine is coming from Tulsa, Oklahoma, driving 25 hours on a bus. And yet when he posted the sign-up sheet at his high school, 150 students signed up for the pilgrimage. Young people from all over our archdiocese and all over the nation descend upon our capital and bring enthusiasm and hope and a positive spirit. If abortion proponents had a rally, I wonder how many youth would show up. We are winning. The church's message is slowly getting out and is being explained for what it really is. Women who once felt condemned for a past abortion are seeking healing in record numbers. The Rachel's Vineyard retreats for mothers of aborted children, offered in our archdiocese several times a year, are packed. The youth of this country and this church are standing up and saying, enough. The age of destroying our future is over. And the work continues. So what can we do? The church asks us to do several things. First of all, to reach out to those considering having abortions and getting them help and counseling. This week, the Archbishop of New York, Archbishop Timothy Dolan, learned that in his diocese, 41% of the pregnancies end in abortion. He offered to take in any unwanted child. We also are encouraged and we help the women to instead consider adoption and look for other alternatives. We can fast and pray. The Old Testament is very clear that fasting and prayer on the part of entire nations brings healing to those nations. Our Blessed Mother is a great spiritual ally as well in this battle to drive evil from our land. Is Christ asking you to keep a vigil outside an abortion facility nearby, once a week or maybe once a month? Have you thought of attending the Mass for Life at our cathedral next Monday at noon? Or attending the prayer vigil that follows the Mass? Our Knights of Columbus here in our own parish are heavily involved in pro-life activities, and we also have a very strong and vibrant pro-life ministry. There are opportunities if you are looking for them. Isaiah says in today's reading that the Lord has spoken, who formed me as His servant from the womb. May all the children that the Lord continues to form in the womb be given the opportunity to be His servants.